Have you ever wondered what secrets might still be buried beneath the soil of ancient empires? Treasures, not just of gold and silver, but of knowledge, power, and a forgotten worldview that could change everything we thought we knew about history? The Aztec civilization, one of the most complex and enigmatic societies of pre-Columbian America, continues to inspire awe and mystery centuries after its fall. From their majestic temples and celestial calendars to the stunning artistry of their featherwork and jade sculptures, the Aztecs demonstrated a mastery of engineering, cosmology, and culture that rivals any great empire in human history. And yet, despite the Spanish conquest, the fall of Tenochtitlan, and centuries of colonization, many of the most valuable and symbolic objects of Aztec civilization remain missing, lost to time, looted by foreign hands, or hidden by fate itself. This video explores 15 of the most legendary and elusive Aztec treasures, artifacts, scrolls, sculptures, and even rumored tombs that, if discovered, could reshape not just the narrative of the conquest, but also our understanding of the ancient world and humanity's past. These treasures are not mere myths. In some cases, there are documented accounts of their existence, clues from surviving codices, or artifacts discovered in fragments that hint at a greater whole. In others, we're left only with oral traditions or Spanish chronicles that speak of unimaginable wealth carried away during the Night of Sorrows, or hidden to keep them from the invaders' hands. To begin, we must understand the context of Aztec wealth, not just in gold, but in sacred meaning. The Aztecs did not use gold as currency, nor did they amass wealth for material pleasure. Their treasures were expressions of cosmic balance, ritual power, and social harmony. A feathered headdress, for instance, could hold more symbolic weight than a chest of emeralds. A codex, carefully painted by priest-scribes, preserved the sacred calendar, the movement of stars, and the divine instructions for maintaining universal order. These were not objects to be traded. They were portals to divine knowledge. Let's start our journey through time with the most iconic and historically documented treasure of all, the lost treasure of Moctezuma II. When Hernán Cortés entered the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan in 1519, he and his men were stunned by the grandeur of the city, the opulence of the temples, and the dazzling adornments of the nobility. Cortés wrote to the Spanish king that he had never seen anything like it in Europe. Moctezuma, the Aztec emperor, received him with offerings, including plates of gold and masks of turquoise, hoping to avoid conflict. But the greed of the Spaniards, coupled with their hunger for control, turned diplomacy into destruction. As the city erupted into rebellion and chaos during the event known as La Noche Triste, the Night of Sorrows, Cortés's men attempted to flee with wagon loads of gold, gems, and sacred objects. Many of them drowned in the canals of Tenochtitlan, weighed down by their stolen treasure. To this day, the bulk of what was taken, or left behind, has never been recovered. In 1981, Mexican workers stumbled upon a heavy gold bar in downtown Mexico City, believed to be part of this lost treasure. But that's just a fragment. The full hoard, known as the Treasure of Moctezuma, remains a legend waiting to be rediscovered. Closely related is the Golden Disk of the Sun, a massive ceremonial artifact said to have been housed in the Templo Mayor, the great temple at the heart of Tenochtitlan. This disk, likely made of pure gold, represented Tonatiuh, the sun god. Spanish chroniclers describe it being displayed on the temple wall, gleaming with divine energy, serving not only as a religious icon, but as a cosmic calendar. Some say it was melted down by the conquistadors into ingots. Others claim it was hidden by Aztec priests before the final assault on the temple. Its rediscovery would not only provide physical proof of Aztec solar worship, but could offer insight into their astronomical calculations and calendar systems more accurate in some ways than those of contemporary Europe. The third treasure is not gold or jade, but the Codex of Tlaltecuhtli, a rumored sacred book that contained prophecies of the gods of the earth, water, and sky. Tlaltecuhtli, the earth goddess, was a monstrous and powerful figure, often depicted as devouring the sun each night and giving birth to it again each morning. The Codex allegedly contained instructions for rituals to maintain cosmic order and predictions of cataclysmic events, possibly including the arrival of the Europeans. While fragments of other codices survive, like the Codex Borgia and Codex Mendoza, this one has never been found. Scholars believe it may have been destroyed or hidden during the siege of Tenochtitlan. Its discovery could revolutionize our understanding of Aztec cosmology and theology. The fourth lost treasure is the crown of Moctezuma, also known as the Xuhuitzoli. This turquoise and gold diadem was worn by the Aztec ruler during ceremonies and was said to be crafted with sacred stones arranged to mirror the stars over Tenochtitlan on the day of the empire's founding. While a feathered headdress attributed to Moctezuma exists in Austria's Welt Museum, its authenticity is still debated. The true crown, however, has vanished. Some say it was taken as a war prize to Spain and lost during centuries of movement and war. Others believe it was broken apart and its stones repurposed. The rediscovery of the crown would be both symbolic and monumental, a reclamation of sovereignty, culture, and spiritual leadership. Our fifth treasure is buried not in myth, but possibly in the literal earth, the tomb of Moctezuma II. Unlike Egyptian or Chinese emperors, whose burial sites have been found and extensively studied, the final resting place of the last great Aztec emperor remains unknown. Spanish chronicles suggest that Moctezuma died under mysterious circumstances. Some say he was murdered by his own people for perceived betrayal, others that he was killed by the Spaniards. But what happened to his body? Aztec rulers were typically cremated and honored with elaborate funerals, their ashes stored with offerings, jewels, and sacred icons. If Moctezuma's tomb or ashes could be found, they might be accompanied by unprecedented archaeological and cultural artifacts, personal regalia, scrolls, and perhaps even ceremonial weapons untouched by time. The sixth treasure is a set of sacred instruments known as the Teponaztli drums of Tlaloc. Tlaloc, the god of rain and fertility, was honored with music that mimicked the sounds of thunder and falling water. Crafted from hollowed logs, decorated with carvings and inlays, these drums were said to summon rain and communicate with the spirit world. One specific pair, housed in the temple of Tlaloc, was said to be so powerful that they could only be played during eclipses or sacred festivals. After the conquest, many ceremonial instruments were destroyed, but whispers of hidden caches of ritual tools persist among Nahua elders. Finding these drums could open new pathways to understanding the soundscapes of Aztec rituals. We end this part of the journey with the seventh treasure, the lost obsidian mirror of Tezcatlipoca. Tezcatlipoca, the smoking mirror, was a god of night, fate, and sorcery. Priests used polished obsidian mirrors in rituals to see visions, communicate with spirits, and divine the future. One such mirror was said to have been kept in a chamber at Templo Mayor and used by Moctezuma himself. British occultist John Dee possessed a similar mirror, now in the British Museum, but its Aztec origin is debated. The original mirror, if found, could reveal not only craftsmanship, but mystical traditions and psychological tools unknown in the Western world. Its discovery could also open debates on how pre-modern societies perceived consciousness and altered states. These seven treasures are just the beginning. In the next part, we'll explore hidden caves, sacred bundles, and artifacts scattered across European museums, each with the potential to change our understanding of not only the Aztecs, but of the global narrative itself. These objects, lost not only in location but in meaning, await rediscovery, not to be hoarded, but to be honored and studied. Let us know in the comments, which of these lost treasures do you think is still out there, waiting to be found? And if you could choose one to uncover, which would it be? Continuing our exploration of the greatest lost treasures of the Aztec Empire, we now turn to those shrouded in even deeper mystery, objects tied not only to power and prestige, but to spiritual authority and the preservation of indigenous identity in the face of destruction. These treasures are more than material riches. They are cultural anchors. Each one speaks to the profound sophistication of the Aztecs in art, religion, astronomy, and governance. Though many may never be found, their legends endure, echoing through oral tradition, colonial records, and the scattered clues left behind by those who once safeguarded them. The eighth treasure on our journey is the sacred fire bundle of Huitzilopochtli, the war and sun god who was central to the Aztec pantheon. According to tradition, the sacred bundle, or Tlaquimiloli, was a tightly wrapped collection of relics, feathers, bones, obsidian blades, and other ritual items imbued with the power of the deity. Huitzilopochtli's bundle, kept at the Templo Mayor, was never to be opened except by the high priest under precise ceremonial conditions. It represented divine authority and cosmic legitimacy. After the fall of Tenochtitlan, this bundle vanished. The Spaniards, not understanding its significance, may have destroyed it, or perhaps it was hidden by loyal priests in one of the many underground chambers or shrines scattered around Lake Texcoco. Finding it today would be an unprecedented discovery in Mesoamerican archaeology, offering not just artifacts, but potentially original Aztec writings or ritual codes. Next, the ninth lost treasure brings us beneath the earth, the underground library of Texcoco. It's said that before the arrival of the Spaniards, the city of Texcoco, a major center of learning and poetry, housed an archive of scrolls, bark paper codices, and pictographic maps that documented Aztec laws, astronomical records, and even medical knowledge. The ruler Nezahualcoyotl, renowned for his wisdom and poetry, supposedly commissioned a vast underground library in a stone vault near the royal palace. After the Spanish conquest, these materials were either burned or buried to prevent their destruction. While no direct archaeological evidence of such a library has been found, the consistent appearance of this account in Nahuatl oral tradition and colonial writings makes it a tantalizing possibility. Were it to be discovered, the intellectual worldview of the Aztecs, largely erased by conquest, might finally speak in their own voice once more. The 10th treasure is a pair of masterpieces known as the twin serpent pectorals, believed to have been forged from turquoise, coral, and obsidian, representing Quetzalcoatl and Tezcatlipoca, the gods of creation and destruction, light and shadow. Worn only by the emperor during the most sacred ceremonies, these pectorals were said to be passed down from ruler to ruler. While we have smaller serpent sculptures in museums today, the twin pectorals described in Spanish accounts were massive, dazzling objects that shimmered like divine armor. Their location is unknown, though rumors persist that they were hidden by fleeing Aztec elites during the siege, possibly sunk in the lake, or hidden in temple ruins. Their recovery would not only affirm the dualistic philosophy central to Aztec thought, but would symbolize a moment of cultural return after centuries of loss. Number 11 on our list leads us across oceans to the jade death mask of Axayacatl, Moctezuma's father and a celebrated warrior king. This mask, crafted from individually carved jade mosaic tiles and inset with obsidian for the eyes, symbolized transformation through death, a key concept in Aztec metaphysics. The mask was last recorded in an inventory compiled by a Spanish noble family in the 1600s before disappearing. Some believe it now lies misidentified in a European private collection. The mask is rumored to bear glyphs not seen in any other artifact, glyphs that may record previously unknown events or cosmological principles. If recovered, it would be one of the most important artistic and philosophical finds in Latin American history. Now we come to the 12th treasure, the calendar stone of the fifth sun center, a companion piece to the famous Aztec sunstone currently in Mexico City's National Museum. While the sunstone depicts the god Tonatiuh and the four previous cosmic eras, or suns, some accounts suggest there was a second stone, smaller in size but more intricate in detail, that contained the center glyphs of the fifth and final sun. According to Aztec prophecy, humanity is currently living in this fifth sun, a fragile and impermanent era destined to end in catastrophe. The lost stone, if it exists, may hold information about how the Aztecs believed they could prevent or survive this prophesied collapse. If unearthed, it would not only add to our understanding of Aztec eschatology, but could also offer insight into how ancient civilizations dealt with the fear of global change, something very relevant in today's world. The 13th treasure is less known but equally powerful, the necklace of Chalchiuhtlicue, goddess of lakes, rivers, and childbirth. Made of shimmering green stones said to be sourced from a now-lost cave in the Sierra Madre, this necklace was believed to bestow fertility and healing powers. Worn by high priestesses, it was used in ceremonies that honored the sacred feminine and the life-giving forces of water. Spanish missionaries, seeing it as an idol, tried to track it down for destruction. However, indigenous women's oral traditions in modern Mexico still speak of its existence, hidden in the mountains and guarded by ancestral spirits. Its rediscovery would not just be an archaeological marvel. It would reconnect indigenous women with a sacred symbol of strength and continuity. We now come to the 14th treasure, and perhaps the most controversial, the Codex of Forbidden Rites, a legendary book said to contain the rituals that were banned or concealed even within the Aztec priesthood. It may have included instructions for summoning divine visions, human transformation, or deep communion with specific gods, rites deemed too dangerous or sacred for common practice. Spanish priests documented stories of such a codex, claiming it was burned at the stake with its last guardian. But others believe the codex was smuggled out of the capital and hidden in the mountains of Guerrero or Oaxaca. If such a text were ever recovered and authenticated, it could challenge current views on the boundaries between religion, magic, and psychology in pre-Hispanic cultures. And finally, the 15th treasure is the most elusive of them all, the true map of Aztlan. Aztlan is the mythical ancestral homeland from which the Mexica people, the core of the Aztec Empire, originated before they journeyed south to the Valley of Mexico. The location of Aztlan has never been confirmed. Some place it in northern Mexico, others suggest the southwestern United States. A few even suggest it is symbolic, rather than physical. Yet there are legends of a map, possibly painted on deer skin or etched into stone, that records the original migration route and the sacred signs that led the Aztecs to Tenochtitlan. The discovery of this map would be a transformative moment, not only for Mexicans, but for all indigenous peoples of the Americas, affirming a shared origin story and re-establishing a link between myth, geography, and identity. In the end, these treasures, real or rumored, invite us to think differently about the past. They remind us that history is not just what we find in books or museums, but also what is buried beneath the surface, hidden in symbols and remembered in stories passed down through generations. Whether lost through conquest, neglect, or intention, each of these treasures carries with it a lesson and a legacy. They challenge us to keep searching, not just for gold or glory, but for truth, for meaning, and for a more complete picture of human civilization. In the next part, we will look at how modern researchers, archaeologists, and even amateur explorers are tracking these treasures. From sonar scans of lake beds to decoded glyphs in ancient codices, the hunt continues, and new clues are emerging. Stay tuned, and don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Which of these 15 treasures would you most want to see found in your lifetime? As we step deeper into the realm of Aztec mystery, it becomes clear that the search for these legendary treasures is more than a pursuit of precious artifacts. It is a cultural reawakening. Each treasure carries with it the potential to rewrite narratives, restore voices silenced by colonization, and reshape how we understand the Aztecs not as mythic warriors lost to time, but as a civilization of profound thinkers, artists, and astronomers. Yet, in order to bring these treasures to light, scholars and adventurers alike have turned to modern methods, combining history, science, and sometimes even spiritual guidance to track down what centuries of conquest have scattered or concealed. The modern search begins with archaeological science. One of the most ambitious undertakings in recent years is the exploration of Mexico City's buried Tenochtitlan, the Aztec capital that now lies beneath one of the world's largest metropolitan areas. Underneath the foundations of colonial buildings, markets, and highways rest the remains of palaces, temples, and possibly lost treasures. Archaeologists from Unearthed, Mexico's National Institute of Anthropology and History, have used ground-penetrating radar to uncover hidden chambers beneath the Templo Mayor site. In 2017, they discovered a ceremonial tunnel containing statues, jaguar remains, and offerings. Some speculate that such tunnels could still lead to the burial chamber of Moctezuma II, or to hidden vaults containing sacred bundles, codices, or even the twin serpent pectorals described in Spanish chronicles. While excavation is difficult due to urbanization, the research continues steadily, inching ever closer to revelations. In addition to radar, remote sensing technologies like LiDAR, light detection and ranging, have revolutionized the way researchers examine Mesoamerican landscapes. Originally used in mapping Mayan ruins in dense jungles, LiDAR is now being tested in areas surrounding Lake Texcoco to detect unnatural mounds or subsurface structures that could indicate buried artifacts. Because many treasures may have been hastily hidden in the wake of Spanish invasion, these tools could lead to sites that traditional excavation techniques would miss. The hope is that such scans might one day reveal the sacred fire bundle of Huitzilopochtli, the obsidian mirror of Tezcatlipoca, or the remains of the long-lost underground library of Texcoco. Meanwhile, museums around the world have become unlikely sources of discovery. Many Aztec artifacts were taken to Europe during the colonial era, often miscatalogued or displayed without proper context. The famous feathered headdress attributed to Moctezuma, housed in Vienna's Welt Museum, is one such case. While some experts believe it is authentic, others argue it may belong to a high priest. Regardless, its presence abroad has spurred international debates over cultural repatriation. Yet, beyond the controversy, scholars have begun combing through archives and inventories in European museums to identify other misclassified objects. The jade mask of Axayacatl, for example, may still be out there, labeled under a generic name or locked in a private collection, unrecognized for its true historical value. New digital databases and collaborative research between Mexican and European institutions have made it possible to track movement and provenance of artifacts, sometimes revealing sudden disappearances or quiet donations from colonial families whose ancestors may have taken part in the plunder of Tenochtitlan. But not all clues come from technology or academia. In remote indigenous communities across Mexico, particularly among the Nahua, Otomi, and Mixtec peoples, oral histories continue to serve as living maps. These stories, passed down through generations, often describe hidden caves, sacred lakes, or forbidden mountains where gods once walked and treasures were sealed away for safekeeping. Elders speak of feathered bundles buried with chants, obsidian mirrors that showed the future, and scrolls wrapped in animal skins, guarded by nature itself. While these tales are often dismissed by outsiders as legends, recent research shows that many such accounts have led to real archaeological findings. The role of indigenous knowledge is increasingly respected, with scholars working alongside local elders to interpret symbols, locate hidden shrines, and ensure discoveries are handled with spiritual sensitivity. One especially promising location is Tepeyac Hill, a site now associated with the Virgin of Guadalupe, but believed by some researchers to have held earlier significance in Aztec religion, possibly as a place of worship for the mother goddess Tonantzin. Folklore in the area hints at hidden tunnels and sacred bundles still buried beneath the colonial-era basilica. Excavation is challenging due to religious and political sensitivities, but small finds, carved stones, votive offerings, suggest the potential for more. Could one of the forbidden codices or ritual necklaces still be concealed in its depths? If so, uncovering it could bridge the symbolic divide between pre-Hispanic spirituality and modern Mexican identity. And yet, not all searches occur in the physical world. Some scholars believe that clues to these lost treasures are hidden in plain sight, encoded in surviving Aztec codices that were smuggled to Europe before the Great Burnings. Take the Codex Borgia, or the Codex Vaticanus. These highly symbolic pictographic manuscripts contain not only religious rites and calendar systems, but also visual references to ceremonial objects, temple layouts, and processional routes. One theory posits that a series of glyphs in the Codex Borbonicus may depict a map of memory, a visual sequence showing the transfer of sacred items from one temple to another during the siege of Tenochtitlan. If decoded correctly, it could lead modern historians to the hidden location of the smaller calendar stone or even the Codex of Forbidden Rites. Scholars are working with AI tools and indigenous linguists to re-examine these symbols, hoping to crack what colonial scholars misunderstood or ignored. The search has also captured the imagination of amateur explorers and independent historians, many of whom believe the most significant treasures lie far outside the Valley of Mexico. Some claim that the true map of Aztlan exists not in central Mexico, but in the deserts of the American Southwest, carved into canyon walls or buried beneath petroglyphs left by ancestral Puebloan peoples. In Arizona, Utah, and New Mexico, clusters of symbols similar to Aztec iconography have been discovered: spirals, sunstones, dual serpents, leading some to suggest a cross-border migration pattern. Could the journey from Aztlan have left behind markers of the Aztecs' earliest days? If so, finding the original homeland might not only solve the riddle of Aztec origins, but unite cultural threads across nations. All of these efforts, scientific, academic, folkloric, and spiritual, converge on one central idea: that history is still alive. It is not a closed book. It is a web of stories, symbols, and secrets waiting for the right hands to uncover them. And in that web, the Aztec treasures are not just material objects. They are keys to an ancient world view, a sacred cosmos where time is circular, gods walk among mortals, and the soul of a people is preserved not only in gold and jade, but in memory, art, and ceremony. Perhaps what makes the search so powerful is that it reflects a deeper desire to recover more than objects. It is about reclaiming identity. For generations, colonial narratives painted the Aztecs as bloodthirsty and primitive, focusing only on human sacrifice and warfare. But these treasures, codices, masks, instruments, and sacred bundles, tell a different story. Of astronomical precision, poetic complexity, ecological wisdom, and spiritual sophistication. Every find is a step toward correcting that distorted image. And so the search continues, not only in fields and archives, but in the hearts of those who believe that the past still holds meaning for the present. With each new clue, we are reminded that lost does not always mean gone. Sometimes it simply means waiting, to be found by those who seek with humility, respect, and vision. In the next part, we will focus on specific individuals and teams leading this new wave of discovery. From indigenous archaeologists reviving ancestral knowledge, to digital codex decoders, to modern explorers following ancient migration trails. Who are the people daring enough to chase legends and bold enough to believe the past still speaks? As we continue our journey through the elusive world of Aztec treasures, the story becomes more personal, more immediate. It's no longer just about objects lost to time. It's about the people today who are dedicating their lives to recovering them. From local elders preserving oral knowledge to high-tech researchers scanning buried ruins with lasers, a diverse group of individuals is leading the movement to uncover the physical remnants of Aztec grandeur and spiritual legacy. Their work is not only about archaeology, it's about healing history, restoring identity, and honoring memory. And they all share one belief, that the past is not truly lost if we keep looking. Let's begin with someone who has become a symbol of this rediscovery. Leonardo López Lujan, a Mexican archaeologist and director of the Templo Mayor excavation project. For decades, Lujan has led the team digging through the ruins of the Great Temple in the heart of Mexico City. His work has revealed hundreds of offerings, from flint knives to animal remains to finely crafted figurines, many untouched for centuries. In one chamber, sealed with volcanic stone and layers of ritual sand, his team found jaguar bones painted in blue, the color of sacrifice and divinity, alongside coral and starfish imported from distant seas. These finds suggest the Aztecs had intricate trade routes and highly symbolic rituals linked to the underworld and the cosmos. Lujan believes there is still more to be discovered, possibly even a royal tomb. His steady, respectful approach reflects the modern ethics of archaeology, not to conquer the past, but to learn from it with reverence. Equally important is the rise of indigenous archaeologists and cultural custodians. For centuries, the interpretation of Aztec history was dominated by foreign or colonial voices. Now, a new generation of Nahua and Otomi researchers are reclaiming their heritage through both academic and ancestral knowledge. Scholars like Dr. Maria Teresa Uriarte have worked to incorporate indigenous cosmology into archaeological analysis, advocating that local traditions and myths be treated as valid historical sources. For these researchers, the codices are not just artifacts, they're instructions, blueprints, and spiritual records. Some have argued that the Codex of Forbidden Rites or the Sacred Fire Bundle may still exist, possibly in underground shrines only known to a few families who've protected them for generations. Their approach is guided less by metal detectors and more by relationships, with elders, stories, and sacred landscapes. One such elder is Don Felipe Xochitl, a Nahua guardian from the Puebla region. Though not formally trained in archaeology, Don Felipe has become a key figure in guiding respectful exploration in areas where oral history points to hidden artifacts. He recounts a story passed down from his grandfather of a sacred necklace buried in a cave behind a waterfall. green as the goddess Chalchiuhtlicue herself. The elders sealed the cave after the conquest, leaving symbols carved into nearby stones to mark its protection. While government teams have not yet excavated the site due to environmental concerns, Don Felipe's testimony has inspired younger community members to study history, ecology, and language, ensuring these stories are preserved until the time is right to investigate further. Technology, too, plays a growing role. The University of Mexico's Department of Geospatial Studies recently partnered with drone experts to create 3D aerial scans of areas surrounding Lake Texcoco and the former Chinampa floating garden systems. These scans revealed strange geometric patterns beneath the soil, square foundations, narrow paths, and oval depressions aligned with solar and lunar events. Could these be the remnants of storage houses, ritual platforms, or hidden vaults where treasures were concealed during the siege? The patterns are currently being compared with glyphs found in the Codex Mendoza and Codex Auburn, which include visual depictions of temple storage areas marked by specific symbols. The hope is that matching these patterns could help locate long-lost structures or even the twin serpent pectorals described in early Spanish texts. At the forefront of symbolic analysis is a team of digital humanists working out of Stanford and UNAM who are reinterpreting Aztec codices using artificial intelligence. By training language models on pictographic symbols, colors, and spatial relationships, they hope to decode sequences in surviving manuscripts that have long defied interpretation. For instance, a recent study suggested that a sequence of serpent and water glyphs in the Codex Borbonicus might depict a ritual procession carrying the crown of Moctezuma from a temple to a lakeside vault. While this may be speculative, the method represents a new way to read these ancient texts, not just through the eyes of colonial interpreters, but with modern tools that can recognize patterns and meanings previously overlooked. Meanwhile, independent explorers, often blending history with legend, are venturing into remote locations with GPS trackers, maps from the colonial era, and fragments of oral lore. One such explorer, Alejandro Castillo, has spent years searching for what he believes is the hidden entrance to a chamber beneath Tezcutzingo, the royal pleasure gardens of Nezahualcoyotl near Texcoco. Castillo's theory, based on the poet king's writings and an early 17th-century Spanish map, is that the gardens contained not just fountains and poetic inscriptions, but a hidden library built into the cliffs. Though official excavations have not yet confirmed this, anomalies in the terrain and unusual stone formations suggest there may be more beneath the surface. Perhaps the most public-facing search comes in the form of documentary expeditions, where filmmakers collaborate with archaeologists to raise awareness and funding for continued investigation. A recent series titled The Last Treasures of Tenochtitlan, produced by a Mexican-American team, follows several experts as they explore sites rumored to house the golden disk of the sun, a key ceremonial object last seen on the walls of the Templo Mayor. Though they didn't recover the disk, their scans revealed a sealed tunnel previously unknown to researchers. The documentary also includes interviews with European museum curators who now admit that their collections may include mislabeled Aztec artifacts, opening the door for potential repatriation. One particularly compelling subplot in the quest for these treasures is the growing legal movement for cultural restitution. Mexico's government has ramped up diplomatic efforts to reclaim artifacts taken during the colonial and post-colonial periods. In 2021, over 2,000 objects were repatriated from Austria, Italy, and the U.S. These include pottery, tools, and ceremonial objects, but none yet match the most famous missing items. However, the process has sparked new investigations into private and institutional collections. Some experts believe the jade death mask or the calendar stone fragment may already be in European possession, unrecognized due to poor documentation or colonial-era thefts that went unreported. Each returned artifact brings not only symbolic victory, but also new hope that the lost masterpieces may someday be brought home. Despite all this progress, the path is not without resistance. Many sites believed to hold hidden treasures are protected or sacred ground, and communities are understandably cautious about outsiders digging without respect. Others fear that publicizing discoveries may lead to looting. As a result, the modern treasure hunt must navigate ethical lines. The goal is not to claim or possess, but to understand, preserve, and where appropriate, return. This new era of exploration emphasizes listening as much as searching. What we see today is a fusion of worlds. Modern science meets ancient memory. Satellite imaging meets ceremonial songs. Digital algorithms meet elder wisdom. And at the center of this convergence lies a profound truth. The Aztecs were not just builders of temples or warriors of legend. They were architects of meaning. Every object they created, every treasure they left behind, was embedded with layers of significance. To recover them is not merely to uncover the past, it is to re-enter a conversation that was interrupted, a dialogue between humanity and the cosmos. In the next part, we will step away from the people and processes and focus on the deeper meaning behind these treasures. What spiritual, philosophical, and scientific knowledge did the Aztecs encode into their artifacts? Could the lost items, if found, change how we understand astronomy, psychology, even medicine? Join us as we decode the symbolic universe of the Aztec world and explore the mysteries still hidden in jade, obsidian, and sacred ink. As we conclude our journey through the mystery of the 15 lost Aztec treasures, one truth emerges more clearly than any artifact ever could. The true power of these treasures lies not only in their material beauty, but in their ability to transform our understanding of history, identity, and cultural resilience. From the vanished treasure of Moctezuma and the mythical true map of Aztlan to the crown of the emperor, sacred codices, and obsidian mirrors of vision, each lost item is more than just an ancient object. It is a key to unlocking an entire worldview that has been pushed to the margins for centuries. These treasures represent wisdom in art, mathematics, astronomy, philosophy, and governance. They symbolize a culture that saw time as cyclical, nature as divine, and life as sacred. The Aztecs didn't merely accumulate wealth, they sanctified it. Every stone, feather, or glyph was part of a larger, interconnected cosmos. Losing these treasures was not just the loss of gold and jade, but the silencing of a civilization's voice. And yet, the story isn't over. The search continues. Thanks to archaeologists, indigenous knowledge keepers, historians, AI researchers, and cultural activists, that voice is rising again. Piece by piece, tunnel by tunnel, page by page, the Aztec world is being rediscovered. Perhaps the most precious treasure isn't buried in a vault or locked away in a European museum. It may be the growing global recognition that the past cannot be owned, but it can be honored. And in doing so, we open the door not just to what the Aztecs left behind, but to what we still have to learn from them. So, which treasure would you want uncovered? What truth might it reveal? Not just about the Aztecs, but about ourselves. Let us know in the comments. And thank you for joining us on this extraordinary journey into the lost legacy of one of the world's most fascinating civilizations. Thank you for watching this video. Click here to check out another interesting video.